Hello, business owners and my fellow citizens. How are you doing, and my customers as well? My name is Daryl Guberman. I'm the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. And we've been in business now 11 years, assisting companies in consultation in many arenas, casting, aerospace, medical, automotive even, and other industries. Also, our background is aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where I dealt with all the different industries. Today, this video is about letters to ANSI nomination committee and Russ Chaney, chairman, proves they're a sham. What I'm doing is I'm going to read you each letter that was submitted into my 54-page document. It is apparent to me that ANSI does pick many, probably I haven't seen percentages, but probably most, if not all, of their choices for membership on their board is from ANSI itself. So keeping complacency at its highest levels. I figured that if I put my nomination in there, that I could bring some sort of new breath of fresh air into the facility and add to it. I had to answer a nine questions on this questionnaire, and I looked at it. I couldn't believe it. At the bottom it says, the committee appreciates your interest in serving in an ANSI leadership position and your willingness to provide us with this additional information. And who's on it but Russ Chaney? Russ Chaney in 2019 called me and left a message. I didn't even know who Russ Chaney was. And the reason why he called me is that I exposed a simple factor because I was doing some research on laboratory accreditation for ISO 17025. And so what I did was I did an expose video about A2LA. And the reason why I did that is because you had a vice president of laboratory accreditation from ANSI ANAB. Her name was Pamela Sale, and she said under deposition that from one laboratory to another, there's variances. You can find the rest of the data down below. I don't want to go into it too much, but I want to get right to this. I want to read you the letter from my customer. And you also have the factor that at the time, A2LA sat on the international accreditation form right over by Iran, to tell you, and they were also controlled by China, which has Chinese National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. The worst part about this, when you dig deep, is you find that one of the organizations sitting on the IF, right over by ANSI, and I guess the board condones this fact. It's a crazy thing. They probably don't even know. Okay, but you had Osama bin Laden, Pakistan, sitting right over by ANSI ANAB, controlled by communist China, watching over the IF, which is incorporated in Delaware. Now, Osama bin Laden was a mastermind that killed over 3,000 Americans. What does that say about the etiquette, the ethics of those people who sit on ANSI? You have to ask this question. Unbelievable. So we did the video. We did it. We got a little response down beneath the video from this Ashley Morton, who works at A2LA. And she said that A2LA does not sit on ANSI. They are both American accreditation bodies in equal standing. Well, what I did was I did another video exposing the factor that, yes, as I showed you, A2LA does sit on ANSI's board. And I think they still do to this day that they sit there. So what happened is that evening, Russ Chaney called me. Now remember this, Russ Chaney is a nominating chairman. He also, even though it's a form letter, he congratulated me on giving more information through those 9 questions I had to answer, letting them know, the committee, and Russ know, that what type of attributes that I can bring, what type of experience I can bring. And this is what he left me on the voicemail concerning A2LA sitting on ANSI's board.
This is Russ Chaney. Please leave a message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Record your...
Yes, he did say, Russ, you did say, half a nut, fuck you. And to make matters somewhat disgustingly worse, is we wrote to Joe Battia. He's the CEO of ANSI. In fact, if you look at the management structure now, he's the one in control, and Russ Chaney is the second one in control. The reason why I have failures down, you're going to find them down below, not the whole litany of them, but you're going to find out that Boeing sits very close on ANSI's board to the FAA. The FAA seceded inspection to Boeing to build the 737 MAX, probably also the 777, 787 Boeing aircraft. They all have quality issues, as we've seen with the 737 MAX, 777, 787, all under the banner of these guys, ANSI, ANAB. Many certificates are granted to them. In fact, in Boeing's supplier portal, it says ANSI must be ANSI, ANAB, or internationally equivalent. And we find out through an email that Randy wrote us, Randy Doherty. At the time, he was the technical advisor of ANAB, and he was the treasurer on the 990 tax report for the IAF. He stated that an IAF MLA is equivalent to an ANAB certificate. So you have Pakistan there, sitting there, who harbored Osama bin Laden, and they're equivalent. Can you imagine that mess? You also have pharmaceutical. You have Pfizer skipping quality steps and processes. Okay, sitting also on ANSI, right over by Johnson & Johnson, who had a 60 million recall for the COVID injections. And you also have them sitting right over by the FDA, USDA, DOT, DOJ, FBI, and a partridge in a freaking pear tree. And you have other things. You have automotive recalls and all the rest of this stuff under the banner of voluntary consensus standards, which it's not. And, well, anyway, Joe sent this off and the audio file to this guy. I don't know. I think he possibly got his law degree from a crackerjack box. But what makes it worse is from what we gather, he is a veteran. And thank you for your service, sir. But how much is he a veteran if ANSI's involved with communist China? How American? I'm asking him a question. How is he proud of this country? And I have to ask it, and veterans out there, I am sorry. But I have showed in many videos that ANSI and ANAB sat on the IAF right over by Pakistan, right over by Iran, who claimed, their government claims, not the people, but the government claims that they were part of the 9/11. So you have his organization that he represents, I guess, condoning the 3,000 deaths. I hate to say that. It's disgusts me to say that, but they are so close, sitting on the same board. And then you have Lockheed Martin sitting right by them as well on the IAF. And they're an associate member that can vote on policy, and they don't suspend these jokers for killing 3,000 people. And it's a shame. And, I believe in a world economy, but not a world that has these criminals on board, and they are. You look at Pakistan, you look at Iran, and it's not the people, it is the government. So he got my email, my message to Joe, and he also got my audio file. This is what Jameson Carroll said, okay, concerning this, and I want you to listen to this.
This is Russ Chaney. Please leave a message, and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Record your...
Yes, we continue on because I want to continue on to read you my customer's submission to ANSI concerning me getting on the board. This is from Mr. F. Dear Miss Constantopoulos, my name is Mr. F, and the company that I have is in New York. I have known Mr. Daryl Guberman since 2015. My quality manager asked him to come in since we have recently gone through a recertification with our 10-year registrar. We have received 11 major nonconformances. I was concerned because the quantity of rejects, and they really had no bearing on the operations or function of my business. My quality manager had seen recent articles and videos concerning Mr. Guberman's expertise, knowledge, and passion when it came to quality in all industries. Mr. Guberman was called to corroborate my thoughts on this matter. We had sent Mr. Guberman the 11 nonconformances to evaluate prior to our meeting. Mr. Guberman began the meeting explaining in detail that most companies and corporations, federal agencies, do not understand ISO certification. They know they need it like a ticket at a movie theater to get into business, and that's all they know. He went on to say he compared our 11 nonconformances to others that he had accumulated over the years and showed that many of our majors were minors with other registrars. The major nonconformance that we got for management review, for example, written in the same fashion and section as Mr. Guberman showed us as a minor, made my hunch correct. Mr. Guberman said that quality is out of control, and his showing me this issue firsthand made me feel like I had been robbed over my almost 10 years with my registrar. Mr. Guberman said that ISO was supposed to be a synergized process. If one register gives a minor for a management review, same section in the standard and verbiage, then another registrar should do the same. He further went on to say because this was a recent or recert audit, more than likely the auditor gave majors to come back in 30 days. They would come back, charge my company again, and ensure corrective actions were implemented. Mr. Guberman verified my findings. He went on to explain how the IF, International Accreditation Forum, had most recently, 2015, been handed over to a member of the CCP, Communist Party, China Communist Party, who has been involved with quality since 1994. Mr. Guberman had shown me a video taken at his 2013 ASQ speech, where a Region 3 director, David Levy, of ANSI ASQ ANAB, stated that ANAB had no problem with what he was doing in the certification space and that ANAB supported him. Mr. Guberman's attention to detail, expertise, presentation of important information, and knowledge of the subject matter made me cancel my registrar and go with GPMC LLC. He did inform me that Mr. Levy never brought ANAB's acceptance any higher than 2013 meeting, and this might be an issue with present customers and prospective customers. He later told me in 2016 that Mr. Randy Doty, who was a senior member of ANAB and IF, had invited him to join either organization or both and showed me Mr. Doty's email. Mr. Guberman had told me that he had refused the invitation because the IAF is incorporated in the U.S. and now Communist China has infiltrated quality. He has further said there was a major cybersecurity risk because ANSI and ANAB sat on the IAF. The words I remember he said to me at our meeting were, "Mr. F., it's not stealing our data anymore, it's giving it away through these close ties." I've experienced what Mr. Guberman said about companies questioning my ISO certification. Mr. Guberman, his staff, and company always educate the customer. In fact, we have landed substantial contracts, both private sector and government, with Mr. Guberman and his team's support. Mr. Guberman recently asked me to nominate him to the ANSI board for 2022. I could not refuse due to the example of quality and excellence. I would like to nominate Mr. Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC. I understand that the rules require an ANSI member to be elected to the board. I have been in business long enough to understand there are many gray areas in business. The rules should not be used in this instance. After the nonconformance issues he exposed and his 2013 approval by senior staff of ANSI ASQ ANAB, I believe Mr. Guberman should be elected unanimously. What puzzles me is that Mr. Guberman showed the inconsistencies in quality surveillance and recertification process, and the senior membership of ANAB 2013 stated ANAB has no problem with what he is doing. In fact, ANAB supports him. But apparently David Levy, Region 3 Director of ANAB, did not send the memo of acceptance to other senior members of ANAB. Once again, this illustrates inconsistencies of quality metrics. Mr. Guberman would benefit ANSI and improve the worldwide scourge of quality failures and recalls in many industries. His input would ultimately save lives and keep the attention to detail on quality. I would suggest strongly that you nominate him unanimously. So business owners, I will say this. You have the lawyer of ANSI after evaluating Russ Chaney, who's the chairman of the nomination committee, say this in a letter to me. You have the lawyer, Jameson Carroll. And yes, Jameson, he did say half a nut, fuck you. And then you have Russ Chaney, the chairman. Do you think he's going to put a good word in for me? No, he'll put this type of word in for me.
This is Russ Chaney. Please leave a message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Record your... Half a nut, fuck you. Half a nut, fuck you. Half a nut, fuck you.
And by the way, for those of you who want to see the actual rejections, that I compared the registrars, his registrar and a registrar that I had dealt with while I was doing some consulting for AS 9100. The guy came in to do the audit, and the guy said, and he was from DNV registrars, I will not make any bones about it. He said to me during our conversation, he said, Daryl, we are called into DNV down in Texas on an annual basis, and we're told to give out corrective actions. So I said to him, as a quality professional, if you're telling me that you're told to give out corrective actions, as superfluous as they can be, your management review wasn't properly done, your inputs and outputs, your calibration is off, and the company's been open for 30 years, do you think, business owners, do you think that your personnel is gonna pick up an out-of-date, out-of-calibration piece of equipment and use it on a part? No. Use your common sense. Just note it as the auditor, but they don't. They give a corrective action. The problem with his registration company at that time, Mr. F's registration company, is that they came back for the recertification. They gave him the majors so that they can come back again and charge him twice. Isn't that a tender moment? The first time, and then to go look at his evaluation. Business owners, I do this to illuminate you, to let you know that, yes, I was a nominee for ANSI, but because of Russ Chaney and the lawyer, and even Joe Battia, I'm not an octopus, and because of Russ Chaney, we were not allowed to get on there. Don't let anybody kid you. I will gladly send you this information. My telephone number is 203-556-1493. And you can get me at Daryl, DARYL, TQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you.